Yo, what up, though? It's your boy DME, and we are here today with MMA and battle rap. What's up, man? How's it going, man?
What's going on, DME? Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Let me just let me make sure we are live. Yeah, we are live. Okay, good. Yeah. So basically, I want to do today. I want to talk about health and nutrition. I'm very excited about this. I want to give my little rundown on my little journey here through everything I've been through. I've been overweight my whole life, right? And I started losing weight after I got out of high school. I did the Atkins diet and this and that, and I lost about 60 pounds. Then I got down to about 176, and then once I got that, and I worked out ever since I was in high school. I've had a gym membership, and I work out all the time, right? So after that, when I got skinny, I was like, all I got to do is work out and I can go back to eating what I want to eat. You know what I mean? But that doesn't really work, And I feel like your diet is 80% of your of losing weight, and exercise is 20%. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this, everything we're going to talk about. So, yeah. So then, I've been a yo-yo my whole life and everything. So I got to a point last year where I was at my heaviest at 252 pounds. And then my mom made fun of me. So, and my mom always says, oh, you don't, she always says, you look good, this and that. And she finally was like, you need to lose a little weight there. I don't know what's going on.
When your mom says it's different.
I was done. I was done. So, I knew what I had to do, but it's like what food does. It's very addictive. And I think what they put in foods and sugar and all that stuff, it's a tough road. And if you don't know what's really going on, and I feel like I wanted to do this because, I do all the research online and this and that, and I get people motivate each other. So if I can just motivate one person to change how they eat, and it could save lives, I think so. I think it saved my life. I was headed probably to be a diabetic. I was headed to 300 pounds for sure. I would have been probably, if I didn't start, I would have probably been at 270 by now, because I was just gaining weight and I was working out. That's the thing. Now, when I started doing what I'm doing now, we'll get into that later. I barely working out. It's because when COVID hit, my gym got closed, so I canceled the membership and I never reopened it now because they make you wear a mask and everything, and I don't know. I just can't breathe in a mask. So I work out very little, and I've lost 50 pounds in 6 months. So you can do it without. I mean, working out definitely is a great thing, and you want to do that, but it can be done with limited working out. And so, what's your background on nutrition and everything like that?
Yeah, so I got a degree in nutrition from a Montclair State University in New Jersey
Okay.
about 8 years ago. And I learned so much more outside of college than I actually learned inside college, right? Actually working with people. And what I realized is that what they teach in college is just information that, there's no true evidence for. So I started thinking outside the box and utilizing different nutrition techniques with clients, and I ended up working with UFC fighters and professional entertainers, and using these outside the box nutrition strategies. And that's how I ended up actually getting my start in all this. So what you're saying is exactly correct, which is like exercise is such a small component of it, when in reality, like, all exercise does for the most part is burn calories, right? If we're looking at what most people do in terms of exercise, which is like, I'm a jog on the treadmill for a half hour, or I'm a walk an hour every single day, all you're doing is burning calories. But in reality, the food that you eat changes your hormones, changes every single thing. Like, the food that you eat is information for every single cell of your body. So that's the most important thing that you could do. And you're realizing that right now. You said you lost what, 50 pounds
In 6 months? Yep.
in 6 months,
And
just by
limited working out, very limited. Probably I've
right.
worked out the least I've ever worked out in my life during the 6 months.
Right. And I mean, just from what I've tuned in and watching your lives, you seem to, luckily have found the right track, which is these outside the box strategies, which are the exact opposite of what's typically taught in schools and which is typically taught in the media. Right. So, I mean, most people haven't found that way that you found. So I would say that you are either, lucky, or you stumbled across the right information,
Right.
and you're seeing how most people are not getting the benefits that you're getting because they just, you know, the way that the media frames everything is just so wrong. And that's true for every single aspect, but especially for nutrition, because people's lives are at stake here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So look, I came across this thing online about the best, if you Google the best diet advice in the world, this comes up. And look, let me throw some of these at you and how you feel about some of this, 'cause I don't agree with any of them. Number one, eating frequently prevents overeating.
Okay.
I completely disagree with that. I used to eat 4 or 5 times a day, and I was always hungry. I couldn't wait to eat again and eat again. I'm at a point now where I'm eating on work days. I eat once a day, and on non-work days, I eat twice a day, and I'm never hungry.
Right. Yeah, me too. 100%. And what we have to realize is that our biology is pretty much the exact same as our ancestors' biology was. So it would be in our best interest to nurture that biology the same way that our ancestors did, right? While, of course, taking advantage of all of the modern advancements, right? I'm gonna use the air conditioner in the summer, right? It is what it is. That's what I'm going to do. Right. But when it comes to our biology, our ancestors were lucky if they had 1 meal per day, right? They had to actually go out and forage those fruits and those nuts. If they were lucky, they rarely got nuts, but you know, those fruit, those nuts, those vegetables, and they had to hunt for that meat. Yep. So all that ridiculous amount of energy expended in order to forage these fruits or to catch that wild animal and eat it, that's all for like 1 meal per day. And that's what our biology is actually accustomed to. So us modern day thinking that we should eat 6 times per day just to stabilize our hunger, that makes absolutely zero sense from an ancestral perspective. And I mean, we can get into the actual science of why that makes no sense if you want, but yeah, it just doesn't work. And you realize that it doesn't work. You know, I realize that it doesn't work. And anybody who starts to incorporate intermittent fasting into their day, after about a week or two, they realize like, wow, I really just don't need to eat like I thought I did.
Yeah, you take control of the food instead of the food controlling you. Like I can go through my day and not worry about eating. I can go through a whole day and not eat at all and feel fine. And I never thought I would ever be to that level. When I first started my intermittent fasting, it was before I started doing keto. And it was about 6 months before I started so a year ago. And I started I was like, let me do this, but I was just going to eat normally, like how I normally eat. And I lost like 2-3 pounds in like 6 months, right? It helped a little bit, but I was still eating very bad. And I was still hungry all the time because I was eating sugars and carbs and the breads and all that. So it was keeping me hungry. So it was hard to do. Once I incorporated keto and got rid of all the sugar and the spikes and all that, it was like natural. It was very easy to do. Number 2 on this list was plan ahead. Don't skip meals or allow yourself to get hungry.
Don't skip meals or allow yourself. That just doesn't make sense. It's like drinking before, like it's also the same thing as drinking before you're thirsty. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like your body knows what to do instead of like, we try to think that we're smarter than our natural biology, but we always end up shooting ourselves in the foot when we do that. And in our hormones control our hunger. So if we're doing everything that we can to control our hormones in the way that we want to control them, then they're going to do exactly what we want them to do. Mm-hmm. So when you start intermittent fasting like you're doing, look, I'm busy. You're a business owner. I'm a business owner. We're probably both in the same field here where we're extremely busy. We don't really have time to be meal prepping and cooking each meal per day. So it just makes sense if you're a busy person who needs to, focus on several different tasks at once to lower that carbohydrate intake. And that's going to manage your hormones in a sense where you don't have those blood sugar spikes, those blood sugar dips. And that's where that hunger and those cravings come in. So once you start avoiding those foods, you start avoiding those pitfalls, that roller coaster throughout the day where you end up at the vending machine during your lunch break, right? Because you need a Snickers bar or whatever you need because you started your day off with the muffin or with the oatmeal. Yeah. And when you do that, again, you raise your blood sugar, and this is more of the science, but so let's say you start your day off with like a yogurt parfait. Okay. What happens is you elevate that blood sugar, you see your blood sugar levels. So you have a natural hormone in your body called insulin, which also raises, and its job is to reduce that blood sugar because having a high blood sugar is dangerous. But that insulin mechanism isn't 100% accurate all the time. And it ends up lowering your blood sugar to the point where now you think you need to eat again to raise your blood sugar.
Yep.
So you end up on this cycle where you do need to eat 6 meals per day so you don't feel like garbage. But if you just avoided that initial spike in the first place, you never would have got to that place, and you would have just been satisfied without having to snack all day, every single day.
Yeah, and I also feel like ever since I started this, my energy levels are like just straight now. There's no spikes up and down. I was not I used to think I wasn't a morning person. Like I couldn't wake up in the morning. I was always sluggish and tired, and it wasn't that I wasn't a morning person. It was because of my diet. Because now I can wake up with no problem, and I used to always have to take a nap. I would literally be at work, right? I would wake up, go to work when I used to work in the mornings. At 10 o'clock, I'd stop at McDonald's, get a egg McMuffins, hash browns, whatever, eat that. By 12 o'clock, we have an office upstairs in our bar. I would be taking a nap in the office because I'd be that tired almost every day. Now I couldn't even like fathom it. My energy level just stays, and there's no dips, and it's like it's a game changer. I don't think you don't need naps. You know, like I think people think that it's just part of that what it is, and no, it's the food that makes you tired and it makes you sluggish. Look, for other people struggling with this, I've been everything. All right, I've been overweight. I've smoked weed every day. I've been an alcoholic. I love all foods. I love junk food. I love all this stuff. So if I was able to like change all this stuff and get it out of there, I don't think anyone can't do it. And because I didn't think I could. When I first heard about intermittent fasting, like I would have to eat before I went to bed every night. I couldn't sleep without eating. Now I stopped eating at like 8 is like the latest I eat now. Because because the next day I want to get at least 18 hours before I eat again. I was never a guy who would eat in the morning usually, unless I had to work. So I would always skip breakfast normally, unless I had to work. But so now I fast probably 20 hours every day. That's like on an average, 18 to 20 hours every day. And there's some days where I'll just fast for the whole 24 hours and hit like a 40-hour fast. And honestly, I feel great after that 40 hours. And what's the benefit? Do you ever do long-term fasting?
Yeah, so I've done 48-hour fasting. It's not necessarily my favorite just because I do enjoy, having some drinks with the wife when I get home after a long day. There's a lot of things I enjoy that I don't want to actually have this 48-hour fast, but there's a lot of biological benefits to doing so, which you've experienced, which is like there's something called autophagy, right? Which I heard you mention the other day. Yep. And that's what's a cellular detoxification process, a cellular recycling process where your body actually gets rid of cells that are damaged or that are not of use anymore. And that happens during fasting. There's really no other way for that to happen. So when you start to do a fast like you do, a 48-hour fast or a 24-hour fast, you start to eliminate these cells from your body that you don't need. Yep. And you are able to, you have mental clarity that's through the roof. Your energy is through the roof, like you're saying. Like most people can't comprehend, like, how do I have energy if I don't eat for 24 hours? But once you do it and you become adapted to this way of living, you actually feel better when you do it. It's unbelievable. You actually feel better. Like nothing can stop you. Like you could run through a wall. It's unbelievable. And if you haven't done it, which you have, it's like you can't even fathom it. But it's pretty crazy.
I've stopped smoking weed because I just feel good all the time. And now I realize I was smoking weed all the time because I didn't feel good. And I think it was because of the food I would eat. So I was like, and especially I would always smoke right after eating. I was like, oh, I'm stuffed and I have to smoke to make me feel better. But that just compounds and makes you even more tired. And ever since I've been doing this, I don't even feel the need to want to smoke anymore. I already stopped drinking before all this, but I don't know, man. It's been crazy. So let me get to the next one on this list. So there's 7 of them. Number 3. Now this is like in the top Google search. Right? Like this is what most people see if they search this. Eating every 2 to 3 hours maintains metabolism. The body will feel reassured and loved with regular intake of calories. It will see no reason to store body fat. I just don't understand what I'm reading here and how the community here has what went wrong with nutrition? Like what's happening here?
So eating every 2 to 3 hours or 2 to 4 hours it works in a way because it controls you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes the guesswork out of it. You generally don't overeat if you're doing that because you have a steady regimen. So it's the regimen that helps. It's not necessarily the eating every 2 to 4 hours. Regardless of what the regimen is, if you set up a regimen for yourself, it's going to work to some degree. Whether you decide to go plant-based or you decide to go carnivore or gluten-free, all of those things are going to provide benefit in the short term because you're starting to be more aware of what you're putting into your body. So automatically you're ahead of the game when you're going to start getting success. But that metabolism thing, that's also kind of BS. Like that speeding up your metabolism through eating often, that's literally not scientifically proven. There's no scientific evidence for that. Now, if you fast for 7 days, for example, your body may slow your metabolism in order to preserve muscle mass or to preserve fat storage because it thinks that there is starvation. But that's extended fasting that nobody really does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a short thing which your body ends up adapting to.
Yeah.
So I feel like people have seen that science and really just, blown it out of proportion and took it to the extreme. Whereas in reality, eating every 2 to 4 hours, and the research proves this, actually shortens lifespan.
Yeah.
So people who have followed long-term periods of eating every 2 to 4 hours to speed up their metabolism, what they're doing is they're causing their cells. So our cells replicate continuously all day, every single day. And when you're speeding up your metabolism, you're causing an excess replication of your cells, which actually shortens your lifespan. So you may be getting the aesthetic benefits that you want. So you look the way that you want, or you feel the way that you want in the moment. But the research shows that you actually die sooner from doing that. And I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to die.
Right. No, now let me tell you the story. I have one of my best friends is a doctor. He's a surgeon, right? I haven't seen him in a while. He came over about a month ago, and he's like, "Oh, you're losing weight. What are you doing?" And I told him I was doing keto, and he just got upset. He acted like I'm gonna die of a heart attack. I'm like, Jay, I feel better than I ever have in my life. It's funny, you never cared about me when I was eating sugar and all this stuff. It didn't matter. You had nothing to say. I wasn't gonna die of a heart attack then. But now that I'm down 50 pounds, and because I'm eating a lot of red meat and a lot of whatever, I'm in an issue now. Could you go into like the cholesterol issue or about red meat and cholesterol? Because I feel like red meat has actually been vilified, and I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I actually think it's a good food.
100%. So there's two different ways to take this conversation. There's the cholesterol part, and then there's the saturated fat part, both of which are completely incorrect as it pertains to meat. So let's start with cholesterol. Most people say that you shouldn't be eating red meat because of it has cholesterol and it's going to cause a blockage of your arteries. You're going to have a heart attack. You shouldn't be eating egg yolks or eggs because it's going to raise your cholesterol. But the truth is that 80% of the cholesterol in your body does not come from the food that you eat. It's actually naturally produced in your body, in your liver, based off of a ton of different lifestyle factors. And the least of which is the food that you eat. So 80% of the cholesterol in your body does not come from the food that you eat. So why should I be so concerned about the cholesterol on my plate? I should really be concerned about why my liver is producing this cholesterol. And usually it's either from overeating in general or from overeating carbohydrates specifically. And even more so, the conversation gets even deeper than that, because we all look at cholesterol in general, like your cholesterol is 300 or whatever. But what does that mean?
Right.
We have to break down that cholesterol number even further to HDL, which is the good cholesterol, and LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. Yep. And even then it can be broken down further, whereas the LDL, there's 3 or 4 different types of LDL cholesterol, some of which are not harmful at all, and some of which are extremely harmful. So just looking at your overall cholesterol number, or looking at the number, the amount of cholesterol on your plate that you're going to eat, that tells such little of the story. And 50% of people who present to the emergency room with a heart attack or with heart disease don't even have high cholesterol. So half the people have high cholesterol, half the people don't. How can high cholesterol be the cause of heart disease? That literally makes no sense, right? No sense at all. So yeah, don't fear the cholesterol in your food. That's not what's raising your cholesterol or contributing to heart disease. There's so many more factors that we need to be concerned about other than that.
Yeah, and so I don't want to when I want to talk about like the difference between vegans, keto, and then carnivore. I tried the carnivore for a week. It's almost similar to what I'm doing already with keto. It's just you're knocking out the veggies, right? So I wanted to try it. But I love salads, so that's like my thing. And I actually I got away from dressings because I read a lot of bad things about soybean oil, canola oil, and which I didn't know. When I was on Atkins 20 years ago, I was probably consuming bottles of dressing a week, like cause that was you just dump dressing on your salad and you're good to go, low carb. But I feel like when I eliminated that, so I just put lemon and a little bit of olive oil. That's my dressing, and it tastes just as good to me. So I actually tried the carnivore for about a week, about 2 weeks ago, and I felt great on it. I don't know if you've ever tried it.
Yes.
So what do you think about the? And I don't want to. Here's the thing. I don't want to bash the vegan. What I think about vegans is at least they're better than eating the standard American diet. So at least they're doing something. It might not be for me. I don't know how healthy it is, and I've heard things, different things about it, especially with the vitamins you get. But at least they're doing something, right? So I don't want to bash on them and make this a this versus them thing, because I feel like they do that a lot, and I don't like that. But what's your opinion on the carnivore diet? So basically, what I was doing, I was just eating steaks and hamburgers all day long, and I would get full, but I would never get that feeling of I'm like, oh. And I had more energy. It was I would say it was 15% better than when I was just on keto. The problem I went back to, I just love salads so much, and the salads don't bother me. I think there's some people that have autoimmune issues, so that's why maybe they want to cut it out and do like an elimination diet thing. Didn't really bother me, so I just went back to it, and I kind of feel the same. So, what's your opinion on the carnivore?
So I don't know if are you familiar with Dr. Sean Baker?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So I've had Sean Baker on my podcast on my other channel before.
Oh, you have? Oh, I've got it. Yeah, you got to send me that link.
Yeah, I got you. And we've had I wouldn't say a debate, but we go back and forth here. Mm-hmm. So the carnivore diet, it can be fantastic, and the only problem that I have with it is that it is very limited, right? So for most people, don't need it. Now, individuals who have extreme gut issues may benefit from a carnivore diet, because certain plants, they have their own defense mechanisms.
Lectins? Is that what it's called?
Lectins and phytates, exactly. So these lectins and these phytates, they can cause damage to the gut and contribute to different health conditions, different autoimmune conditions. So people who have these autoimmune conditions, from my experience personally and from the research, have been shown to have extreme benefits from following a carnivore approach. Yeah. But it's much harder to get all of the nutrients that you need from a strict carnivore approach. It's definitely possible.
Unless you eat organ meat, right?
What's that?
Unless you eat organ meats and stuff like that, which I don't like.
Yeah, you gotta eat organ meats. So you can get most nutrients from meat except vitamin C, which you can get small amounts from certain organ meats. But if you're not going to be eating these organ meats, if you don't have access to high quality organ meats from grass-fed, free-range, wild, organic animals, you're actually doing yourself more harm in the long term. So it's easy for people like Dr. Sean Baker, who I respect, to do this because they have access to it. They have hundreds of people in their DMs all day, every day, trying to send them these products. But for the average person who is struggling to make ends meet, no pun intended, they are not going to have access to this, or not even going to have the knowledge to seek this out. So it's actually doing more damage to recommend it in the long term. But if you frame it in the correct way, I'm totally okay with it. So somebody in your situation, for example, you seem pretty knowledgeable. You probably are able to access these things if you want to. You can do this in a much healthier way than most people, but even you chose not to because it's just not convenient. So only in extreme cases would I recommend a carnivore approach, and that's under strict supervision of somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Have you tried it for any extended period of time?
Yeah, so I've tried literally every single dietary approach at least for 1 month. All right. So I was raw vegan, I was, paleo, keto. I was keto for 3 years, but all that. And yeah, I felt great, but there's an emotional component to eating that most people neglect.
It's really boring. I feel like,
like how much steak can I eat?
Yeah, come on. It almost got to me after like that 6th day. I'm just like, oh, not another steak, bro. Like I just wanted a salad so bad. And when I ate that salad, I felt like I was cheating. Like I was eating a salad. And I felt like I was eating like a chocolate cake or something. So, But again, I can't. It felt great. I lost a couple pounds, and I was But I haven't ever since I've started my journey 6 months ago. I've averaged 2 pounds a week, and I feel like that's about the right weight. You shouldn't lose more than 2 pounds a week. I'm hearing, and I pretty much have done that. I've never gained any weight per week. I have gone some weeks without gaining anything, staying the same, but I haven't. But it's been about 2 pounds a week, so. How was your vegan experiment?
I mean,
because I've never tried it.
If you don't do anything for an extended period of time, you're not going to necessarily feel the downsides of it. So it's like if you do it for a month, you're going to feel fine because what you're doing, so people who switch, like you said, from the standard American diet to a vegan approach, they're automatically going to feel great because it wasn't because you started going vegan. It's because you stopped eating the big Whoppers and the Big Macs and all. That's why you feel great, not because you started going vegan. So, I mean, vegetables are fantastic. Like I would say anti-vegan. Like I've actually had several other channels shut down because of you would say anti-vegan propaganda. But
so you have other channels that talk about strictly nutrition?
Yeah, so I had so check this out. I had a health and wellness podcast. It was a top-rated health and wellness podcast, right? And it actually got banned from iTunes because of I was talking about coronavirus last year in March last year.
Issue, huh?
Yeah, and it got pulled from iTunes, and that was the main place where people listen to podcasts. So,
what were you saying about coronavirus? It was so controversial.
I literally said nothing controversial, which is what pisses me off the most. All I did is I discussed 5 different nutraceuticals that may provide benefit. And I always cite all of my sources from peer-reviewed journals. I never say anything off the cuff. I never say anything that doesn't have any sort of scientific backing. So it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Okay, since we're on this, what's your opinion on the coronavirus? What do you like? Is it overblown? Do masks work? What are we doing? I don't know, man.
So the research that I've seen from real peer-reviewed scientific journals clearly show that masks don't work. First of all, 3-ply masks don't work. KN95 masks don't work. N95 masks don't work. And this is research that we've been looking at since the 1980s, where they were actually trying to say that surgeons don't even need masks because there shows no benefit in disease transmission. So, I mean, we've been conditioned now to wear masks. Imagine what's going to happen the next time something pops up. Everything, we're going to go straight back to the mask, straight back to the masks. And we're fearing a virus when we don't even realize we are made of at least 8% virus. Every single human being on this planet, our genome consists of 8% virus. We know what to do with viruses. We have an adaptation method that we're not able to utilize right now. It's actually stunting our evolution as human beings to be avoiding all these viruses. So I didn't say this in the podcast, but I'm not a fan of all this. I'm not.
Yeah, I feel like it's just insane. Like I just watched a face-off on URL, and all these people have been tested, and half the battlers are still wearing masks during the face-off. If you've been tested, everyone's clean inside. Why are you wearing a mask? It's propaganda at this point. Like I don't understand.
And so I had a client today that I was seeing, and she was asking me what type of mask she's going to be traveling. So she was asking me what type of mask she wants to be getting because she wants to be double masked, even though she's already got her vaccine.
Double mask.
So I'm like, you're double masking and you got your vaccine. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing? Like, people just, and I don't even blame them. I actually feel bad for them because they don't know any better than to search for alternative methods of finding information. They just go about what the media tells them. And, you know, the media obviously is controlled in itself. So it's like, most people are just screwed, man. Most people are just screwed. And then even if they do try to find alternative ways to see things, those ways are taken off of platforms like Apple Podcasts and iTunes. So what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do?
It's wild out here, and it just relates to the whole health, the general health. Like, okay, here we go. Number 4, best diet advice in the world: eat foods that are low energy density, fruit, veggies, whole grains, lean proteins to feel full longer. My experience is it's the opposite of everything that I just read. So what are they talking about?
So let's clarify. When they say low energy density, what they mean is low calorie.
Okay.
So calories are referred to as energy in the scientific community.
I would also want your opinion on calories in, calories out, because I am very anti that. I don't really count my calories. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so what was the actual
eat foods that are low energy density, fruits, veggies, whole grains, lean proteins to feel full longer.
Okay. So what I would say is I would just change the wording of it, which is eat nutrient dense foods to feel fuller longer.
Right.
So what they mean, and whole grains should not be a part of that.
Right.
But when they say that, what they mean is like fruits and vegetables, they contain a lot of fruits, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients. And when your body recognizes that it has enough vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, it's not going to be looking for more sources of it because it's already good. It's got what it needs. It's not going to be searching for it. But with that being said, again, hunger is controlled by hormones. And if we look at the macronutrients, which I don't know if people are familiar with that term. So macronutrients, there's proteins, there's fats, and there's carbohydrates. Those are the macronutrients. When we look at those macronutrients from a hormone perspective, the one that makes us feel full most is protein. And fruit is not a protein. Vegetables are not a protein. Those are carbohydrates. The macronutrient that makes us feel full least is carbohydrates. So if we're looking at it from a hormone perspective, which we should be, that makes no sense. What we should be focusing on is first high quality meats, and then a small side of nutrient dense vegetables. That way we're getting the nutrients and the phytonutrients from the plants, but the protein and the bioavailable forms of vitamins and minerals from the animal proteins. And that's how we're good. If we eat animal proteins like a steak and a side of spinach with a small palm full of berries, we're going to be good to go. So the way that they framed that was a way that kind of makes sense, but a way that also feeds into the food pyramid, which is BS.
What about lean proteins? How do you feel about chicken, especially? I feel like it doesn't. Does it have as much the nutrients as red meat does?
No. So chicken is, especially if we're talking about chicken breasts.
Yeah, chicken breasts.
It's effective from a goals perspective. So when I'm working with fighters and we're cutting 24 pounds in 4 days, for example, right, in order to hit this weight limit, we eat chicken breasts because it is a low calorie, it's high protein, so you're going to feel full, but it's not sustainable long term for the average. The average person should not be eating chicken breast and broccoli. That should be reserved for bodybuilders who are trying to meet a specific body fat percentage, fighters who are trying, or wrestlers who are trying to meet a specific weight requirement. That's not for the average person. Right now, my wife's downstairs actually baking some free range organic chicken wings. Like, we don't eat chicken breast. It makes no sense. Like, no, there's very little nutrients in it.
Now, are the chicken wings better because it has the skin on it? It has a little more fat on it, or what?
So the skin will contain collagen, which is beneficial for gut health, for skin health, hair, things like that. As long as you don't burn the skin. So when you burn the skin, you damage the collagen, and it has kind of.
Oh, really? Because I love burned wings.
I know, it's the best. It's the best. But what you can do is, though. So what I do is I I coat it in seasonings. When you coat it in things like a turmeric, the spice turmeric, or rosemary, those are antioxidants. So that actually protects the chicken skin from being burnt and getting that damage while still crisping itself. So you get the benefit of that. But I slow cook it first at like 200 degrees for 45 minutes, and then I'll turn it up to about 400 degrees for the next 20 minutes. So it's a way to kind of preserve some of that. But it's a give and take. You know what I mean? I want chicken wings. I don't want chicken breast.
Right. Okay, so number 5 will actually lead into my next question on the best diet advice in the world: track calories. What's your thing on calories in, calories out?
I have a mixed perspective on that because again, like working with professional athletes who have a specific weight requirement at a specific time, and there's $1 million on the line, we track calories. We do, but we also track macronutrients, we track micronutrients. So we track the proteins, the carbs, the fats. We track all of the vitamins and minerals. We track every single time they take a sip of liquid. So it only makes sense for somebody who has such a specific goal like that. For the average person, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing most of the time, you're going to get the result that you want. It's that simple. And for the average person that I work with who is not a professional athlete, who doesn't have a specific goal, that's where I come back to the hormones, which is if you eat the right types of foods, you're not going to feel the need to overeat. It's a self-control mechanism that's built in itself. So focusing on these higher fat, higher protein foods and eliminating the rice, the breads, the pasta, it's very simple stuff. It's very, very simple. But when you do it, you start to realize that you actually don't need that stuff. And for example, like bread, or like that's like a delivery system for what you actually want inside the bread, right? You actually want the roast beef and the cheese and all that. You don't, the bread just delivers it. So, I mean, I lost track. What was the main question here?
Just the calories in, calories out thing. Because a lot of people think you have to track calories. I've never tracked calories while I've been on my diet. I just try to keep the carbs low, and I eat till I'm full, and that's basically worked out for me. I don't know how many calories I'm eating every day. I have no idea.
Yeah. So what you're doing is a way that you don't have to track the calories, but they're actually being tracked in itself because again, your body has that self-regulation mechanism built into it. So if you're not doing what you're doing, you would actually benefit to some degree from tracking calories because your regulation mechanism isn't working appropriately if you're eating a higher carbohydrate diet. So you will still get success if you do track, but then you're going to suffer. Then you're going to experience the mood swings. Then you're going to be a dick to your family. Then you're going to feel like shit. You're going to not sleep well. You're going to be hungry all the time. But if you track your calories, you'll still get the results that you want. But why would you take that approach when you could take the approach where you don't even have to track? You feel great, your energy level is through the roof, and you're still getting the results that you want. So that's the way I like to take it.
Yeah, it doesn't. When I'm doing the keto diet and when I'm in ketosis, I don't feel like I'm doing a diet. I feel like I'm full. And when I've done the tracking calorie thing, and like I said, I always feel hungry still, and I'm always just trying to. It's like I'm trying to survive,
right,
instead of what's happening now.
You're always thinking about food. It's like, oh, when can I eat again?
Yeah, when can I eat again? You never get full from what you eat and all this stuff. The next one was join a community. Now, if you're going by all this advice, like the blind leading the blind, but in essence, join a community. Get people to motivate you. I think, and surround yourself with people who are gonna motivate you.
100%. So one thing that I started doing recently is developing programs and aligning different, like a Facebook group or something like that in order to support each other. Because one thing that I found is that working with clients one-on-one, it's like they don't necessarily feel that, whether it be pressure or whatever it is, to continue on. When the times get tough, there's nobody to feel that they have to answer to, because we talk maybe once a week via email. But if they have a private group of people that are posting every single day what they're eating and their results, and I'm 6 pounds down in 3 days, then it's like, okay, I have people that I'm responsible to. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way that it works, but it doesn't work for everybody. Some people are just lone wolves that they don't really give a shit what other people are doing.
Someone asked, how's olive oil? What's the oil? Do you still do soybean oil and all that stuff or no?
No, so
Okay.
I mean, I stopped using vegetable oils probably like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Wow.
The oils that I prefer for cooking are saturated fats. So I'll use leftover bacon fat. I'll
Mhm.
save that in a glass jar and I'll use that for cooking my vegetables. For my meats, I generally get fattier cuts of meat, so I don't use oil for that. You know, like the wings that are baking downstairs right now, they don't have to have an oil because they're fat itself, so it releases its own oil. The grass-fed beef, you know, I'll get like an 85%, it releases its own oil. But if I will use an oil, I'll use either a ghee, like a grass-fed ghee, or a coconut oil, anything that is solid at room temperature. That's what I prefer because those are damaged less easily at higher heats. So
So
the problem
what about olive oil? Because I do use that still.
olive oil
Is
is
there an issue with it? It's
okay. It's
okay.
okay.
Should I cut it out?
I would stop using olive oil if you do want to use a liquid oil, oil that is liquid at
I
room
I
temperature.
just use it on my salad. I spray a little bit on it. That's all.
Oh no, that's fine. No,
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
don't use it for
So
cooking.
yeah. If you're using olive oil as a topping,
Yeah.
that's 100. That's actually fantastic.
Okay.
But you
Okay.
don't want to use it for cooking because it's sensitive to heat and to light.
Hmm.
So what most people don't realize is that oils, like fish oil, for example, if you're buying a supplement, it's very sensitive to light. That's why you'll see it oftentimes in a tinted container, right? So when you go to the grocery store, you see olive oil on the shelf. It's in like a dark brown or dark green tinted container because it's very, very, very sensitive, not only to light, but to heat. So when we expose it to light or we expose it to heat, it becomes damaged and it's just as bad as a soybean oil at that point.
Someone asked, "How is what about oatmeal?" I'm not a fan of oatmeal. I don't really eat it. What do you think about oatmeal?
It's one of those things where if you are disciplined
Hmm.
and you are regulating your diet, you don't have to be tracking, but you're just paying attention to everything that you're doing, and you're a highly active person, oatmeal can actually be beneficial. But
Okay.
um, if you're not active, I wouldn't do it. If you're not an athlete or a lifting or highly active, I wouldn't do it.
Okay. Diet pops is a big issue with a lot of people. I was addicted to Diet Pepsi, and any diet. I switched to diet when I was in high school, and then I would drink every day. God knows how many, 2 3 a day, up until a few years ago, and then I would just drink a little bit here and there. But are diet pops that big of a deal? And if so, is it because of the aspartame? You know.
Yeah, so there's mixed research on that. Me personally, I avoid diet sodas for the most part. Diet aspartame, sucralose. These things, according to the newer research, do kind of cause a disruption in the gut microbiome. So they can cause a problem with the bacteria in the gut, which may lead to something like SIBO, a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which will cause bloating and neurological symptoms. So I think it's overblown how harmful diet sodas are,
Hmm.
but what I will say is when there's better options out there, why would you choose them? So I've seen you drink on several lives the Zevia sodas.
Love those, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Like that's what I drink. Like
Hmm.
anytime like I drink alcohol, I'm doing like a vodka and Zevia or like a
Right.
whiskey and Zevia. Like it just makes sense.
Hmm.
So with the Zevia sodas, they're basically carbonated water, natural flavors, and sweetened with either monk fruit or stevia.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to act like that's healthy, but it's not unhealthy. So I try to look at we can't be so concerned with every little thing that we do. We have to still enjoy our lives,
Right.
but if we have the option out there and we have the financial capability to afford these, I don't want to call them luxury things. I mean, it's only like 70 cents a can.
Right.
Um, these options are available. So anybody out there, look at Zevia soda, Zevia.
Yeah. You can
And I
order them on
actually have
Amazon, and they have them
yeah,
at
they're
like
on
various.
Amazon. I do have a discount code for anybody out there as well that I can get on a lot of these different things. So
Mhm.
hit me up. Anybody, I don't mean to like promo on your
No,
show,
promo all
DM
the
me,
way. Don't
but
mind.
anybody who's interested in all this, you can DM me on Instagram at MMA_and_battle rap. And I will send you my private client discount code to all these different things, including the Zevia sodas if you want to try them, because they're game changers. Like, why not do it if it's the same exact price?
I'll tell you what, that the Zevia is what got me started, right? So when I was like, especially with the intermittent fasting, I heard that it doesn't. You can have a Zevia and it doesn't affect your fasting. Is that do you agree with that?
Yeah, so
I,
it
I've,
depends what.
I've looked at so many different blogs to find out, and most people are in agreement with that. But I always wondered, I was like, it's
Yeah,
worked, so I don't know. So I do have them all the time while I'm fasting.
me
So
too. Me too.
it gets me through that. Anytime I ever have a little hunger thing, I have one, and it kind of like I just forget, I get through it. So
Yeah, so you can either do that or you can do a black coffee, which most people would prefer to the Zevia.
mhm.
But both of those things will prolong the fast. And there's also different ideologies within that, which is that as long as you're not eating anything that spikes your blood sugar or spikes your insulin, that you are still getting all of the benefits that you're looking for from fasting. So you've probably heard of the bulletproof coffees,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I never got
Yeah.
into that stuff. So
Yeah, there's again mixed research on that, but you get most of the benefits from still like using an MCT oil or a coconut oil
yeah.
inside of a coffee without actually, and that will prolong your fast in the sense where you won't experience hunger, but you still get the autophagy and the other things that you're looking for. But I prefer the cleaner fast, which you're talking about, which is like the Zevia sodas, which will not break the fast. They're 0 calorie. They're not artificially spiking your insulin or anything like that. So you're good with that.
What's it called? Apple cider vinegar. What's your feelings on apple cider vinegar? To me, I love it. I love it. It's. Oh, so let me another thing about me. I had very bad heartburn my whole life. I would have this burping thing all the time. Even when I was down to 176 pounds on Atkins, and it got worse and I'd constantly burp. My brother does it all right now. My dad used to do it, and we used to think it was just like hereditary or something. And I had bad heartburn. I would have a lot of heel pain anytime I'd be on my feet for a long time. All that's gone now. I literally have zero ailments, all right? And I used to go through bottles of Tums every week. I would pop 5 or 6 a day. I have nothing anymore. And I think it has a lot to do with the diet. But I think apple cider vinegar, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so apple cider vinegar is slightly overrated,
Okay.
but the way that it is beneficial is improving digestion.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, there's two ways it's beneficial. So, improving digestion and lowering blood sugar after you eat a meal. So, most people, when they have this acid reflux, for example, kind of what you're describing, most doctors will tell you that it's an overproduction of acid in your stomach, and that acid is making its way up through the esophagus and causing this burning sensation throughout your chest and your throat. And what newer research is showing, and is what integrative physicians are realizing, is that it's not an overproduction of acid. It's actually an underproduction of acid, which is causing this issue. So when you take an apple cider vinegar, for example, you're adding acid to the stomach and you're solving the issue, because when you have low stomach acid, what happens is that little valve in your esophagus that is supposed to stop the acid from coming up and coming down isn't functioning properly. So the acid is actually being raised through that valve, which is supposed to be closed, but it's not closed because it's not functioning well because you have low stomach acid. But when you add acid to the stomach, that valve realizes like, okay, we're good. We have enough acid. We don't have to be opening and closing this valve. So you don't have that issue where the acid is coming back up because you now have enough. So this is an extremely misdiagnosed issue. And with clients that I work with one-on-one, I actually work with an integrative a functional doctor, a naturopath. I work with an integrative pharmacist in order to figure out all of these different issues. And one of the is overprescribed is these protein pump inhibitors, which is just contributing to this issue. So apple cider vinegar can be extremely beneficial for people who do experience acid reflux, but not for everybody. There's a small percentage of people who do have this overproduction of acid, but I would still recommend trying apple cider vinegar if you do have acid reflux, because it's likely that you really just need more acid. And if you don't, and it's actually not the exact opposite of what you need, all that'll happen is you'll have just worsening symptoms, and you'll realize it, and then you'll stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's what made it better, but I'm thinking that what do you think the oils cutting out the salad dressings had anything to do with it? Maybe do those inflame you?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
So every single one of our cells in our body is built off of fat. So the fat that you eat ends up being the fat that is used to build your cell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're eating a damaged fat, again, this goes back to the tinted bottles and the damaged fats. If you're eating a damaged fat, which these vegetable oils are, these soybean oil, canola oil, these fats are extremely sensitive to light and heat. So if you're cooking with vegetable oil, you're damaging that oil, and then the cells that are built from that oil are damaged. So you're literally a walking damaged human being, 100%. You're an inflamed person. Every single cell in your body is inflamed, and you're literally damaged. And it sounds like, accusatory or bad to say, but it's the truth.
How do you feel about these almond flours, coconut flours, all these keto treats? Because I really got into them, and I don't know. I feel like I don't feel as good when I eat them. They're very easy to overconsume. Are they fine for you, or should we stay away from them if we can, or use them as like a treat?
Yeah, I would say to use it as like kind of like an earned meal or
Mm.
something like that once a week. So but the almond flour specifically, me personally, years ago when I started living this way, I incorporated more almond flour style desserts and
Mm.
buns and things like that. And I felt like shit.
That's how I
And
felt. Yeah.
the more that I learned about it, I realized it's because, again, almonds are sensitive to light and heat. The fat in almonds is a plant-based fat, so it's not a solid fat. So when we make an almond muffin, we're basically eating a vegetable oil. So it sounds better. It sounds like it's healthier, but it's the same exact thing as eating a trans fat that these French fries from McDonald's are cooked in, or
Mm.
it's the same exact thing. And for me personally, my trigger, and my cheat meal or my earned meal, whatever you want to call it, is Buffalo Wild Wings. Like, I love wings, man.
Me
That's
too.
my
Yeah.
And every single time I would eat Buffalo Wild Wings, I would get this intense shoulder pain.
Mm.
And that's inflammation from, probably a past injury or something. I don't know. But everybody's trigger is different. But for me, I know that damaged fat, those trans fats, that damaged vegetable oil is triggering here. And I would get that same sensation when I would consume an almond flour based
Mm.
dessert or pastry or something like that. So that's what really started to realize to me, which is like, it's the damaged fat. So all of these different treats, there are ways where once in a while you can have them and enjoy them. And yeah, it's still overall better,
Right.
than
Right.
eating fast food, but it shouldn't be it shouldn't be a nightly thing.
And I would do it. The way I do it is, if I do it, I would do it right after I eat like a dessert, instead of like snacking on it during out the day. Because I feel like the less amount of times you eat a day, the better. The snacking is an issue, I think. But yeah, I would eat it as a dessert. But I notice a difference when I don't eat them and when I eat them, and I'm like, what's the point? But like you said, you don't want to I don't want you want it to be sustainable, so if you're missing that sweet, I have a huge sweet tooth, so it's better than having a Snicker bar or something, and going
Right.
off the rails. Do you do a cheat day or anything like that every once in a while, or are you very strict on it?
I wouldn't say I'm strict, because I do drink a decent amount of alcohol. So
Okay. What do you drink?
I would I drink wine. I
Mm-hmm.
would just I drink like wines that are tested for different things, mycotoxins and things like that. Um, and then I'll drink pure whiskey and things like that. I won't drink beer or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that's kind of my cheat
Cheat
stuff.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy the food that like. I'm eating like wings right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do I need to cheat off that? You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
that's
right,
that would be the cheat.
right.
You know?
Um, Once in a great while, once every like month, we go out to eat, and I might indulge in something, and I do feel real shitty afterwards. So it's like, I don't know, should I have done that? But it actually, I think it helps sometimes to make me realize, yeah, that was cool, but I really didn't miss it, and it's not a big deal, and it motivates me back to knowing I'm doing something right. So
Right. Well, when you're eating that food that makes you feel like shit, you realize like it's actually keeps you on track for a longer period of time.
yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Hmm.
I'm not the type to be like, so unless you're specifically goal oriented and you have a specific dollar amount on the line, it's like, who cares? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, as long as you're doing the right thing most of the time, you're good.
I say you just do it once in a while, but don't live your life like that. Like just do it once in a while. But the problem is with people, when you're not tracking what you eat, that's how you eat every day. That's literally, and then it
Exactly.
compounds on that.
That's the thing, which is like people tell me all the time, every single person I see all day, every day, they tell me, oh, I eat good, I eat clean. And then I say, well, what did you eat today?
Right.
And then the answer, well, today, I was busy, I was running around, I was, late. So I picked up, this oatmeal and, it's like, well, that is your typical day. So you don't realize that,
Yeah.
but it's not just today. If I were to ask you this question yesterday, it would be the same shit. So once you start being accountable and realizing what you're doing, then you're already halfway there.
Yeah, I was the same way. I convinced myself I eat good. I eat good. I wasn't eating good. I was gaining more weight than I ever been. And in my head, I thought, I'm doing all right. I'm having chicken here and there and this and that. But you don't really realize it until you start paying attention to it.
Right, you're eating one decent meal per day and thinking that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. So you said you're kind of anti-vegan. You want to expand on talk about that a little bit? Because this seems like, especially in the battle rap, there's a lot of vegans in the battle rap community. Like I've noticed.
Yeah.
um,
So
and the vegans I run into are really mean. I don't know what their problem is, but
all right, so let me try to figure out how much I want to share here. So my actual introduction into battle rap several years ago was working with, I guess you would say, a top tier battle rapper. And that's what actually made me a fan of battle rap. And this individual was, I would say, mostly vegan or claims to be vegan, but they're not really vegan. Damn, I don't know how I want to frame this. I wasn't expecting this. Shit. So what I'll say is this. Going vegan short term can provide benefit, but long term, there's a lot of deficiencies that can show. And
B12 is one of them, right?
B12 is a huge one that all right. So with vitamin B12, right, a lot of vegans, including this individual who I'm talking about, would say that you can get B12 from algae. You can, take a seaweed supplement, spirulina or chlorella or something like that in order to get vitamin B12. But what most people don't realize is that the vitamin B12 from plant sources, it's known as a faux, F-A-U-X, a fake B12, which actually blocks the real B12 from being absorbed by the body. So if you are taking plant-based B12s as a vegan, thinking you're doing the right thing, you're actually doing more damage than you thought you were doing. And B12 is extremely important for memory. So when I was working with this battle rapper, the goal was to improve memory, was to improve cognitive performance. And people who are following this vegan lifestyle, they tend to be extremely persistent on sticking to it. And it's hard to kind of lead them down a different path. So you just got to do what you can. And
Like in meat, there's things like choline and creatine you don't get in vegetables, correct? And that helps to develop your brain, I believe, and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. So B12, choline, yes, creatine, yes, absolutely. Certain fatty acids. So if we're looking at omega-3s,
yeah.
again, a lot of vegans will say you can get omega-3s from algae, but that's false. Again, the omega-3s that are found in algae. So omega-3s, we're talking about like fish oil, for example. A lot of people look at fish oil to get omega-3 fatty acids because they're anti-inflammatory, they're good for the brain, they're good for the heart. And there are omega-3s in plants, but those omega-3s are not meant for human consumption. Humans don't have the proper enzyme to convert those omega-3s from plants to utilizable forms. So what happens is when we eat salmon, for example, the salmon has omega-3 because it ate the algae, and the salmon has the enzyme to convert that omega-3 to a utilizable form. So when we eat the salmon, we're good now because it's been converted for us. But we cannot convert a lot of these plant fats in order into utilizable forms. That's why we need animal foods. And it's so hard to convince somebody of that because we think, oh, omega-3 is omega-3. It is, it is what it is. It's just what it is. But that's not what it is.
Yeah. What's your feeling on supplements? I hear so many mixed reviews on vitamins, supplements. Take this vitamin, this mineral. What do you feel? Is it a scam? Is it real? Does it have any benefit?
Yeah, so it depends when you're looking at the quality of the supplements. So when I work with supplements, I really work with nutraceuticals. So these are supplements that are made to a pharmaceutical made under pharmaceutical conditions. Now, of course, I don't necessarily agree with most pharmaceuticals, but what we can say is that pharmaceuticals have what they say they have in them. Whether or not you think that's what you should be taking is a different story, but they're very well regulated. So if you're looking at a supplement company that is extremely well regulated, that is third party tested, supplements absolutely work 100%. But you should get most of what you need from your diet. If you're not, that's what a supplement is for. It's meant to supplement a healthy lifestyle.
Do you take what do you take currently?
I take a lot.
Take a lot. Okay.
Yeah, so I take a lot because I drink a decent amount. So I take things to overcome the downsides of drinking. So I'll take a vitamin C. Okay. I'll take something called N-acetylcysteine. I'll take something called glutathione.
Glutathione, I've heard about that.
Yeah. So all these things are, to repair the liver, basically.
Right.
And some anti-inflammatory stuff like curcumin or turmeric, things like that. But those are the basics.
You take D3 supplement?
I don't take a D3 supplement. Okay. Not during the warmer months. I do take it during the colder months.
Yeah, because you get it from the sun, right? That's what it is. Yeah, I heard it helped with COVID. I don't know how true that is. But,
yeah.
Well, hold on.
It's not that taking vitamin D will help with COVID. It's that if you're deficient, you are more exposed to, more likely to develop an infection. So 50% of people who were deficient in vitamin D3 got COVID. So out of all the people who got COVID and were tested for vitamin D3, 50% of them were deficient. So, doesn't mean everything, but it means something.
Right. So what do you normally eat throughout the day? You said you eat about twice a day, like me. And like what's a normal eating day? Oh, you know what? Let me just take Prada out real quick. She's driving me crazy. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Prada.
What's going on in the chat here? What are you guys talking about in the chat? Right. I cut out sugar and carbs a few days ago. I had a bad headache for 3 days. HB2N. Let me respond to that. So you cut out sugar and carbs a few days ago, and you have a bad headache for 3 days now. You're starting to feel better now. So the reason that you had a headache is because you're experiencing what's known as the low carb flu. And when you cut out sugar or carbohydrates, that's anti-inflammatory. So what happens is you actually start to pee a lot more. You lose a lot of electrolytes. You're losing sodium, you're losing magnesium, you're losing potassium. So when you start following a ketogenic diet or a low carb approach, you need to be supplementing with an electrolyte formula, which again, I can get you a discount on. So send me a DM. We follow each other on Instagram. So send me a DM. I'll tell you what I would personally do in your case, and I'll get you that discount code. But that's absolutely the reason.
Yeah, if any of you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat and we'll ask them. So what do you usually eat during like the week? Like you like you said, red meats, you eat salads. Like here's what I basically just eat red meat and salads mostly. That's like my main thing. And then I eat a lot of salmon. I like salmon, wild caught salmon, and I order from Butcher Box all my meat, so it's all grass fed, all that stuff. So that's basically what I do, and it's worked for me.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to do it. So so I'll skip breakfast. I'll have for lunch. I'll have what I call a hot salad usually. So it's basically sauteed vegetables with some sort of meat on top, whether that be, chicken thighs or chicken drumsticks or grass-fed beef. It changes every single day, but the concept is the same. And then the dinner will be a large portion of protein, whether that's wild-caught salmon or again chicken thighs or chicken wings or a steak with a side of Brussels sprouts or a side of asparagus. And that's it. It's 2 meals per day. It's extremely simple. It's easy. You put it in the oven, you walk away, you come back and eat it.
Yeah, that's it. What's your take on colloidal silver? I'm not sure.
Colloidal silver?
Colloidal silver? I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's silver. It's a specific type of silver, which is basically distilled, if you will, to a certain nanoparticle, which is well absorbed by the body and not dangerous. I think it's overrated. It has antibacterial benefits, but I think it's overrated.
Tangerines. They're asking about. What about tangerines?
Do you eat
any fruit? Do you eat any fruit?
I'll have some berries once in a while.
Okay.
I guess if you consider avocado a fruit, yeah, I eat avocado every single day, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it though. Peppers are a fruit, I guess.
All right, is peppers a fruit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a little bit of red pepper and yellow peppers with cream cheese in them once in a while.
Raw? You eat the peppers raw?
I put them in an air fryer and let the cheese melt. But is it better raw or is it better cooked?
No. I hate people who eat raw peppers or raw tomatoes. I don't understand how you do that.
Yeah. I guess they're cooked. Captain Crunch, all berries. Yeah. No, the cereals is no good. Let's see here. Do you guys have any other questions there? Red peppers have more vitamin C than an orange. Is that true?
That's true. Okay, so the highest source of vitamin C is camu berry, which that's something that I one of the fruits that I do eat, but I eat it in powder form because basically all the sugar is taken out of it. So camu, that's the highest source of vitamin C out of any food. That's what I do.
I consume a lot of lemon juice. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's great. A lot of people would say that it's acidic, so it's a problem, but we've already kind of debunked that acidity conversation. Yeah. So, yeah, that's fantastic. That actually causes an adverse reaction to create more of a pH balance in the body.
Yeah, that's a fact. I'm trying to see any more questions. These guys, red bell peppers are the goat. Okay. Yeah, I don't really eat any fruit. But I've been here. I should incorporate some berries maybe or something like that in the diet. But I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. But well, this has been great, man. Do you have any other topics you want to discuss concerning this? This has been awesome, man.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much all the basics. I mean, if any questions do come up and people are interested, I'm always down to come back and talk about things. If anybody's got any things to address or any adverse You know, if anybody wants to debate or anything like that, I'm always down for that. So
Yeah,
I'm always here.
I would love to hear you in a debate with someone, maybe with like a vegan guy.
I actually, so I was on
I'd
live
moderate it.
with,
That would be great.
I was on live like last month with Pat Stay. He brought up somebody on Instagram Live. He brought up a vegan person. That was just embarrassing.
Well, while you were on live, is Pat Stay a vegan or no?
No, Pat Stay's not a
Oh,
vegan.
okay.
Pat Stay's one of the, Pat Stay's a really good friend of mine. He's one of the guys that I've worked with in battle rap who, is pretty well versed on all of this and very open to learning. So shout out to Pat Stay.
They said, have you ever tested the pH of your saliva and urine?
No, it doesn't matter how much the pH that I'm excreting. It matters the pH in my body. Like that's another thing with ketones, for example. People will test ketones in their urine. I don't care how many ketones I'm peeing out. I care how many ketones are being utilized by myself.
Do you test your ketones? Do you do any of that stuff?
I did in the beginning, years and years ago, before I understood why that's absolutely useless.
It's useless, right? Yeah, I never bothered. Yeah.
I did when I was on my 3-year keto experiment. I tested my blood ketones. So I would prick my finger twice a day and test my blood ketones. That's the only real accurate measurement for ketones.
Flea Market says, I think I'm starting to realize my diet could be the reason for my issues I've been having. Too much stress and taking care. I think it's 100% your issues. I think diet is everyone's issue. I'm telling you, it's been a game changer. I'm less stressed. I'm much more happier, and nothing's really changed in my life besides my diet. So it's anecdotal, but most people will tell you the same thing, man. Like, I really feel like sugar and refined carbohydrates is really a problem. We're not really supposed to be eating stuff like that, if you think about it. Like you said, our ancestors didn't eat them. Like, it's something new to the industrial world. So,
well, when we eat, those things were earned. Like, we don't earn them now. Like, we don't have to go find them. And like, so carbohydrates, those are used by the muscles and the liver for intense activity, for explosive activity, which most of us aren't doing that anymore. So why would we be eating the foods that are required for explosive activity? Now, if we are professional athletes or something, sure, we could incorporate some potatoes and some fruit, but most of us aren't, so we just don't need it. We're wasting it.
Do you ever get your blood work done and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I get a micronutrient test done twice a year, just to make sure that my vitamins and minerals are in check and to make sure that I'm absorbing everything I'm supposed to be absorbing.
Okay. You suggest people do that, or I've never done
Oh,
that.
absolutely. So everybody should be getting a micronutrient.
What do you ask about? What is it? A micronutrient test?
Yeah, it's called a micronutrient test. You could actually order, I do an actual blood draw, but you can order it yourself as a blood spot kit where you actually prick your finger, you send the blood spot back to the lab. It's the same type of results. It's like $249. It's not too bad.
Okay. And how often do you do that?
Every 6 months I'll do it.
Every 6 months. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm gonna give it a try. I gotta change my diet. Been like I was 15. Yeah. Oh no, he said that the pH in your saliva is not important. Yeah. Cut out fried foods, most breads, high sugar and sodium, and watch how your body changes. I mean, that's a starting point, I think. But I really think I didn't realize how everything has soybean oil in it. Everything. I didn't realize until I heard how bad it was for you, and then I started realizing how much I was consuming. It's in mayonnaise. It's in all the dressings. It was in. I used to love those hot what do they call it? Some peppers, and they're soaked in soybean oil. So I couldn't even eat them no more.
Yeah.
So, but I like jalapenos and stuff like that. Is there any issue with jalapenos and mild peppers? Are those fine to eat?
No, yeah, those are fine to eat for most people. Yeah, absolutely. Unless somebody has like some gut issues, but most people eat those totally fine. I enjoy them.
Yeah. Oh, and what is it? Like, I guess we kind of talked about with the almond flour, but what do you think about all like the swerve sweeteners and erythritol and all that? Should we avoid them as if we could? or is it
Yeah,
fine?
but that's just like that's masking the problem, which is
Yeah.
you have an emotional problem with food, and you're just changing the sweetener, but still furthering the emotional problem.
Hmm.
And that neurological connection to sweetness. So once you eliminate that, you're going to be much better off. And plus, there's actual some health downsides to erythritol in terms of anybody, gut bacteria, and people can have extreme gas if they consume erythritol, which is indicative of bacterial overgrowth and things like that. So if somebody is following like a more of a ketogenic approach and they start using these swerve sweeteners and they realize like they're extremely gassy, that's a problem. Like you need to ask somebody about that.
See, I don't get that with Swerve. I do use it occasionally, and the stevia and stuff. But Molotol, is it right? That
Oh yeah,
kills me
maltol, yeah.
every time I feel terrible on it. I was like, it's not even worth it. And
Yeah,
that's in a
that's
lot of
common.
that's in all the Atkin bars and everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Atkins had the right idea, just the wrong execution.
Yeah, and I think that's why I felt, even though I was down to my lowest what I've ever been on the Atkins diet 20 years ago, I felt terrible still,
Yeah.
especially with all the internal issues and all that. So
I mean, their main goal was super, super low carb, but using artificial ingredients. So,
artificial ingredient, and there wasn't really no intermittent fasting implemented with them back then. So it was basically
right.
three, four. Actually, he recommended just eat as much as you want as long as you keep it under 20 carbs. So there you could eat 6 times a day if you wanted. Um, I like dry cranberries and almonds for. Oh, do you like eat peanuts or anything like that? I tend to stay away from them. Peanuts, almonds. I try to stay away from them, even though I know. I guess some people. I guess they're carb friendly, but
Yeah, it's too easy to overeat
it
for
is.
me.
Yeah.
It's like I can't just eat a palm full of pistachios or a palm full of almonds, like, or a cashews. Like, I'm gonna be eating a ridiculous amount, and it's just not. It's not what I want from my life.
Hmm. I used to be addicted to coffee, and I have cut it out completely. Is there any benefits to having coffee every once in a while, or is there?
Yeah, coffee is. I mean, that's a
But a
whole.
black coffee, right? Is that what it is?
Well,
Can I? Well, what
either
can I?
black
Okay, if I
coffee
if
or
I got back
coffee
on
with.
coffee, what can I have? What, half and half, or what could I put in
Yeah,
it?
yeah, you can use like I don't know what the situation is in Detroit, but
Hmm.
like I'm in Pennsylvania, so you can get like raw, half and half raw,
Oh,
um,
the raw milks and stuff.
yeah. So that would be the best option. But if not, you can always do like I forget Khalifa Farms makes like what they call better half. It's a coconut cream based unsweetened half and half. So you
Hmm.
can utilize that in your coffee. But there's a ridiculous amount of benefits to coffee,
So is there
which
issues with just the regular half and half and all that stuff?
conventional dairy is problematic. It's extremely inflammatory for most people, especially pasteurized dairy. That's inflammatory for a lot of people.
So
Um,
I do consume a feta cheese a lot. I put it on my salads. That's like the main dairy I eat. Feta cheese. How's feta cheese in that? I don't really feel issues with it. That's so, especially
yeah,
when I went to the carnivore diet to see. So I cut out the cheeses and everything. Maybe it doesn't affect me, so it's fine. Is that how I should approach it?
pretty much. Feta
Hmm.
cheese is like I wouldn't call it fermented, but it's somewhat fermented, so it's way easier to digest. It's similar to how a sourdough bread is to a traditional bread, which is where your body's much easier able to digest the feta cheese. So for most people, they can actually, even if they have lactose issues or something like that, they're able to much better handle a feta cheese. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think I have a lactose issue. So there's the. I heard dairy scars the inside of your veins, the processed, of course. That's what flea market said. Are there pros and cons of coffee? HB2N.
Not necessarily. So all of the research so you see all these different articles saying how coffee, is problematic, but the studies that are actually, if you go and look at the studies that are cited, if you scroll down to the bottom of all those articles, you actually look at the studies, those studies are looking at the problems with caffeine. So the problems with isolated caffeine, not coffee, caffeine by itself. And that's why it's extremely it's shady how these people frame these articles. But you never get caffeine by itself. Nobody's taking a caffeine pill. You're drinking coffee, and coffee comes along not only with caffeine, but with polyphenols, with antioxidants that offset the damage of the caffeine. So it's extremely,
Does black coffee mixed with a little cream break a fast?
it will not. It will not eliminate the benefits that most people are looking for from a fast. You'll still have the autophagy. You'll still have most of that, but technically it breaks a fast. Yeah,
it does technically.
technically.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, is there a difference between? I like iced coffee. Is there any difference between the two?
Nah,
Hot or iced?
way,
There's no difference. Okay.
No.
Yeah, because I used to be addicted to them, but I would sweeten them before I was on my diet with sweet and low. That can't be good, right? Sweet and low.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
No, good
That's
for you. Even Splenda. I don't know, Splenda. That's not a good sweetener, is it?
And I think Splenda is just sucralose. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Brand name, yeah.
And that
Which
would mess me
Splenda
up.
also, caused one of my podcast episodes to get taken down as well.
Splenda.
Yeah, like the actual company Splenda. So
Why?
I don't know
Were you saying something against it?
I just cited research about sucralose. I don't understand how that's a problem.
How are they taking your podcasts down? I've never heard of this. What is happening here?
I have no idea.
I want to hear. Did you still do your podcast, or are they still?
No, I stopped doing it because iTunes wouldn't let me upload it anymore.
Wow. I'd
It
love
wouldn't
to
go
hear.
to iTunes.
You have a conversation, like you said, you had a thing with Sean Baker. I'd love to hear that. Do you have any other like you talk to any other people like out there in the YouTube community?
Yeah, I have Rob Wolf, Sean Stevenson, Dr. Stephen Cabral. I mean, all the top guys.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out, man. I'm very interested in stuff like that.
I'll send you a private link because I don't want to be exposing all of my other company and all that. You know how these people get in.
That's cool. Oh, man. Wow, I appreciate this, man. This is great, man. And like I said, I would love to moderate a debate, man. That would be. I don't know if you'd ever be interested in something like that, but
Yeah, I'm down, man.
I
I
don't
love
even know
this
who
stuff.
would be the other side of the argument. I at my
Averb.
Averb, yeah, at my work, and I notice on my Twitter timeline and a lot in this community, everyone's a vegan now. Like half my waitresses are vegans, and but they're eating Twix bars and Hershey's, and
Right.
I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're just like, and then they see me losing all this weight. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm eating meat. They're like, oh, you're gonna die. I'm like,
Right.
okay. I mean, thanks.
Yeah, you can't say anything. You just got to do it. You got to live. You be the example, and who cares? Say who cares?
What? Oh yeah, HB2. What about butter? How you feel about butter? Because I like to use butter. A grass-fed, non-unsalted butter. I usually do.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. If you're using it for cooking or something like that, that's totally fine. But if you're using it like as a topping to vegetables, I would say it's not necessary. It might make it more enjoyable, but I would say it's doing no positive for you.
I usually use butter when I cook my steaks.
Yeah, that's fine. If you're using it for cooking, that's good because again, it's a solid fat, so it's more protected. It's not being damaged, so that's totally fine. Or if you're cooking eggs or something like that, that's totally fine. But all these people putting butter in their coffee, I'm not a fan of that.
Butter? I never even tried that before. I know it's
Yeah, that was a
bulletproof, but
bulletproof thing where you blend butter and MCT oil in the coffee, and
does it make it like thicker?
yeah, it makes it very nice and frothy. It's actually delicious, but it's not conducive to a weight loss goal, which is what most people are looking for.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. Is there anything else you want to cover before we go?
No, I think we covered a good amount, man. Again, thank you for having me on. And if there's any other topics you want to explore, let me know. I'm always here.
Absolutely, man. This was great, and I would love to have you back on again and talk about this stuff again, man. That'd be great.
All right, appreciate it, man.
All right, bro. Be good, buddy.
Take care.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace. All right, y'all. That was excellent, man. I've been wanting to have a discussion like that for a long time, and I hope some of you guys gained anything out of it. Me watching other people on other shows and this and that definitely it's inspired me, and I can't say enough about how much it's literally changed my life. Like it really has, and I'm almost mad at myself that I didn't like do this a lot sooner. Like I wished I was living like this in high school, to be honest with you, because that I feel like my diet was the main reason I was so damn lazy and didn't want to learn, because I'm always interested in learning and stuff like that, but I was just always so tired, man, and it was just the spikes and all the eating, and I was overweight my whole throughout all of high school, and I'd literally just sleep in all my classes, bro, because I was just tired all the time, because I would eat all day long. I'd wake up and eat, and I'd eat at lunch, and then I'd eat when I got out, and I'd eat again at night, and I'd eat again before I go to bed, and it just you know, it was. I'm just so happy that I've and then I did lose my weight. I did lose about 60 pounds back in the day doing Atkins, but again, I didn't feel good. I had my issues in my gut and my heartburn and all that stuff, and my heels. Anytime I would. Let me tell you something. Even when I was at my lowest weight, which was 176 pounds, anytime I would work a full day, my heels would hurt. Like, they would hurt so bad, right? For my whole life. It's gone now. There's nothing wrong with me, right? Everything is healed. Everything. There's nothing that irritates me anymore. My heel's healed. My heartburn's gone. And anything, I can wake up early. Everything is just healed. It's amazing, man. And I feel like I have like a new life. I don't know. I don't want to overstate it. I feel like I'm understating it. I really do feel like I have a new life. And so if it can help other people, because I don't think people realize like how much your diet really is. I feel like it's everything. It's literally everything. And again, I have done this with limited working out. And I almost did. I don't want to say I did it on purpose just to see. For two reasons. Like I've had a gym membership since I was 14. I'm a 3, 4, 5 times a week gym guy. Even when I was overweight. When COVID hit, I canceled my gym membership because they closed, and I never got one back. So I started my diet last year in October. Till now, I do very limited working out. I might walk the dog, and do some kettlebells, and that's it. And I don't even do that every day. And I feel better than I ever have in my life. And I know I would probably have lost a little bit weight a little bit faster if I worked out more, and probably feel a little bit better, because when you do work out, you do feel really good when you work out. There's so much to that. But this can be accomplished without working out like crazy. It really can. So, I appreciate y'all rocking with this. It was important for me to do this, because I just feel like I needed to share my journey, because I've listened to other people who motivated me. So if I can just motivate one person, that it's all worth it. It's all worth it to me. So anyways, I appreciate y'all being here. Love you guys. Maybe I'll be back later tonight, and we'll talk the stupid face-offs. But all right, but I want to leave this as a standalone video with all of the other stuff. But yeah, I might come back later on in a couple hours. But love you guys. Peace.